Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to my channel where I'm making some stuff, and I've been working on using up a lot of the yarn in my stash, and I've been working on crocheting granny squares using this blue, purple, green, and white cotton yarn. So I'm using white, blue jeans, sage green, and lilac colored yarn. So I'm just gonna make as many of these exactly this square over and over and over until I run out of yarn. So then, depending on how many squares I have is gonna determine what I ultimately make. I'm hoping to have enough that I could make a skirt. Based on the title of this video, spoiler alert, I am making a skirt. I will link in the description the full video on how to make this exact granny square, but for the sake of saving some time, I'm just gonna go right into showing you the math that I need to do to make a skirt. So my finished square is 4.5 by 4.5 inches. I need to figure out my hip measurement, my waist measurement, and my desired length. My hips are 41 inches and my waist is 30 inches. We don't need to worry about the 30 inches right off the bat. And then my desired length, I'm just going for something above the knee, whatever looks good. So what I'm thinking is 9 squares by 4 squares, which is 36 squares total, and that's gonna give me 40.5 inches by 18 inches. 40.5 inches is going to be fine. I want a little bit of negative ease, so the skirt is just slightly snug around my bum. Alright, so at this point I have made 29 squares. I need 36. I have successfully won a round of yarn chicken. Hooray! This is all the purple that I have left. So talk about cutting it close. I have that much blue left and this much green. Here are my 29 squares done. I still have to weave in all the ends. But the plan going forward is going to be I need 4 rows of 9 squares. 3 rows by 9 squares is 27. So I will use 27 of these, and then I'll save 2 of them to make little patch pockets, just like on the hip of the skirt or whatever. I have a lot of white left, so what I'm gonna do is make the same type of granny square, just in solid white, 9 of them. And I will use those either at the bottom of the skirt or the top of the skirt. So there will be 3 rows of colored granny squares and 1 row of white granny squares. So I gotta make 8 more of these. I finished all the granny squares, except now I have to weave all of the ends in. But all the granny squares that I need for the project are done. So now comes the tedious task of weaving in my ends. Alright, at this point all my granny squares are done, and now I have to block them. And I just wanted to show you really quick how I do that. So I went ahead and bought a blocking board, and I already blocked half of my squares. This actually works really, really well. I don't know why I put off buying one for so long, because this is a handy tool. I enjoyed using it. This square, just for comparison, this square is not blocked, and this square is not blocked. Blocked. So what I'm going to do now is just show you the process and how I took the granny square from this to this, using my blocking board, the pins that came with it, and just some water. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just lay down a towel so my table doesn't get all wet, and then I'm going to put down my blocking board. This is the base that it comes with, so you can stand it upright, and then these are the pins. So we're gonna make a square. Okay, like that. Here's my square. We're gonna stretch this out. But first, we're just gonna go in with a little spray bottle with water. And we are going to spritz this several times on both sides. And then we're gonna go corner corner, 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 and push it down like that. Again. You know, there are so many different ways that you can block crochet and knitting projects. This is just one method. You just want to get the fibers damp and push them into shape. And I'm going to go in with my other pins, and I'm just going to wiggle them down and slide them in. So that's one side right here. Now we have to do the other sides. This groove here is where we can set the board in. What I like to do is just push it into the window and just let it sit there and dry. So I have all my squares blocked. Now I'm going to lay them out and start hooking them all together. I used a flat slip stitch to join all of my squares together. I'll link the tutorial on how to join squares using that method in the description. Just wrapping this around my waist, I don't like this. I think that I can get away with just the colored blocks. I don't like the white blocks at the end. I think that once I put a waistband and an edging on this, that this skirt is going to be plenty long enough, and with the extra row of blocks at the bottom, it's going to be too long in an unflattering way. So yeah, I'm gonna rip all the white squares out that I worked so hard on, but it's okay. I will use them in a different project someday. A visual for you here, I'm going to remove the bottom squares, and then once I add the waistband, the final length will be a little shorter than the original plan. Oh, nuts! So this is my knotted end. This is gonna suck to take out, but I started joining all of these squares together at the white end. So I'm gonna have to cut the knot and basically unweave each one of these stitches. I'm not gonna be able to just pull a string like I did with the long horizontal one that I just showed you. I'm gonna have to like basically dig these stitches out. Oh well, it's what it is. Now I gotta do that 7 more times. Okay, this is much better. I'm just going to join the 2 short sides together to make a tube. And now it's time to add a waistband to help bring all this loose material at my waist together. For my waistband, I'm going to use a ribbing. I chained 15, and then I'm using a single crochet with 4 slip stitches between each row of ribbing to work this waistband so it will fit nice and snug around my waist, trying to get it as close to that 30-inch waist measurement or a couple inches smaller. It's not an exact science. I'll link the tutorial on how to add ribbing to a project in the description. Alright, so at the risk of sounding dramatic, this might be the most adorable thing I've ever crocheted in the history of my entire 20 plus years of knowing how to crochet. And she's not done yet. So what I'm going to do now is weave in these ends down at the bottom, and then I'm just going to do, I think, a half double crochet all the way around the bottom hem here. And then I'm gonna add a scalloped edge using a shell stitch. Okay, so I did my round of half double crochet, and now I'm going to add the shell stitch border. Chain 2, this counts as the first single crochet. Then skip the next space, and then work 5 double crochets into the same space. Here's what that looks like. Skip a stitch, and then single crochet. And then again, skip a stitch, 5 double crochets in the same space, skip a stitch, single crochet. That's how you do a shell stitch. Just repeat that process all the way around. The last thing to do is add those last 2 squares to make little patch pockets. I'm going to place them here, and once I whip stitch these on, they will blend in nicely with the skirt. I don't have a tutorial on how to whip stitch crochet pockets on, but it's basically just adding a stitch in each crochet space to secure it to the skirt. Leave me a comment if you would like a step-by-step tutorial on how I added these pockets using a whip stitch. But once the pockets are on, the skirt is finished. I love how it turned out. What do you guys think? I love it. It is quite literally my favorite thing that I have ever crocheted. I only have 3 notes, none of which are huge federal issues. The first one is, this is crochet, you can see through it. So my workaround for people seeing my underpants through the crochet is I just wear a pair of flesh colored bike shorts. Yeah, that's my workaround for that. The second thing is that I need to put this on and take this off over my head instead of over my butt. And that is because my hip measurement is more than 10 inches bigger than my waist measurement. So if I pulled this up over my hips, 1, I physically can't, it's too narrow. But 2, even if I could, I would stretch this out and it wouldn't hold its shape around my waist. And 3, I have to go back in and fix my shell here. This is where I started and stopped. And I just want to bring these together. I didn't realize it while I was working on it that they weren't close enough together. But other than that, I'm obsessed with this. It's freaking cute. Alright friends, as always, if you have made it this far, thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to give this video a like if you want to see more videos like this one. And don't forget to subscribe to keep up with future videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!